Good morning, all the viewers. My name is Saloni Mehta. I am a chartered accountant by profession. I work with VSM and CO LLP Chartered Accountants as Senior DGM Taxation. I would like to thank CA BizNet for providing me this opportunity to express my views on the impact of COVID on GST compliance and how to handle it. Before we move to the topic, I would like all the viewers to please be at home and stay safe, as we know that Corona has impacted not only India but countries worldwide. It has caused great loss of human and other resources. So it has also affected the statutory compliances under various statutes. It has also impacted the GST compliance a lot. To understand the impact of COVID on the GST compliances, I have prepared a presentation. We have discussed the agenda of the presentation in the slide. We will discuss each point in detail to understand the impact and how to handle those. The first point for the discussion is relief in payment of interest and late fees on delayed returns. Second point is e-way bill validity. Third is relief in claiming ITC as per Rule 36(4) of the CGST rules. Fourth, extension of time limit for completion or compliance of any action in the period of lockdown. Next point is non-payment of supplier within 180 days will require reversal of input tax credit. Clarification in regard to claiming of refund claim or the LUT applications. Delay in deducting the TDS and TCS and furnishing the statements for same. The next point is impact on cash flow due to the force majeure clause in various contracts. And the last point will be the technical glitches affecting the compliances. Moving to the first point of the discussion, first point of the agenda, the returns. Okay, so delay in making the payment of the GST liability and the delay in filing of such GST returns. The GST Council has extended the due dates for some of the returns, whereas for some relief has been granted. So there are 6 returns where the GST compliance has been hit. GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, CMP 08, GSTR 4, CMP 02 and ITC 04. So first form GSTR 3B is nothing but a summary return of goods or services. Second is GSTR 1, which is statement of outward supplies of goods and services. Third is form CMP 08. Form CMP 08 is a return cum chalan, we can say, where the composition taxpayer has to discharge his liability using this form. Next is form GSTR 4, where the composition taxpayer has to file his return annually. The another form is form CMP 08, intimation to pay tax under composition levy. Form ITC 04 is details of inputs of capital goods dispatched or received from a job worker in a particular quarter. Moving to the first form, form GSTR 3B. As per section 39(7) of the CGST Act, every taxpayer has to file his return on or has to make their payment on or before filing their GSTR 3B. There is no specific due date of payment of GST under the Act, but it says that it has to be paid before filing of form GSTR 3B. The due date for filing form GSTR 3B initially was 20th of the subsequent month. However, now it has been in a staggered manner, that is with effect from February, it has been in a staggered manner. For some of the taxpayers, it is on 20th, for some it is on 22nd, while for the others it is on 24th. This can be viewed through notification number 7 2020. If this return is not filed on time, that is if there is delay in filing of form GSTR 3B, interest and late fees is leviable on such GSTR 3B form. Since the due dates are falling amidst the lockdown period, the GST Council has provided a relief to the taxpayers. I would request all the viewers to please take care of the words which I am using, which is relief is provided to the taxpayers. The due date of GSTR 3B is not extended. Okay, a relief has been provided to the taxpayers from payment of interest and late fees, even if they file their GSTR 3B after the due date, but before a specified date mentioned in the notification number 31, 32 and 36 2020. Okay. Moving to the next slide, where I have prepared a tabular form reflecting the amendments through this notification. uh, if a taxpayer has his turnover in preceding financial year up to rupees 1.5 crores, then for the tax period February 2020, March 2020 and April 2020, if the taxpayer files its return on or before 30th June 2020, 3rd July 2020 and 6th July 2020 respectively, then there will be no interest or late fees leviable. Similarly, when a taxpayer has his turnover between 1.5 crores and 5 crores in the preceding financial year, then for the tax period February and March 2020, if he files his return on or before 29th of June, then no interest or late fees will be leviable. Similarly, for the tax period April 2020, if the taxpayer files his return on or before 30th June 2020, no interest or late fees will be leviable. Where a taxpayer has his turnover crossing 5 crores in a preceding financial year, then for all the three tax periods, that is February, March and April 2020, if he files his return on or before 24th of June 2020, then the interest will be nil for first 15 days. However, after the 15 days, interest will be charged at a reduced rate of 9%. As we know that as per section 51 of the CGST Act, interest is levied at 18% on central tax and 18% similarly on state tax. But for this, the council has reduced the rate of interest to 9%, and here even after the return is filed after the due date but before the specified extended date, the taxpayer has to pay interest for the rest of the days excluding the first 15 days of his delay in filing the returns. This is explained through an illustration in the next slide. For a taxpayer where his turnover is crossing 5 crores in a preceding financial year, then for the month of March, if he is filing his return on 2nd May 2020, then there is delay by 11 days in the return filing. The 11 days delay is well within the extended date, so no interest will be leviable. Taking a scenario where the taxpayer is filing his return on 20th May 2020 for the month of March, then there is delay in days by 30 days. So yes, it is well within the extended date, but for the first 15 days there will be no interest, but for the balance 15 days there will be interest at the reduced rate of 9% on central tax and 9% on state tax. Taking a scenario where he files his return on 24th of June 2020, the delay in days is 65. So similarly for the first 15 days there will be no interest, but for the balance 50 days there will be reduced rate of interest at 9% on central tax and 9% on state tax. Taking an instance where the return is filed on 30th June, which is after the specified extended date for GSTR 3B, then in this case there is delay by 71 days. Okay, it is after the due date which has been specified by the council where there will be reduced rate of interest. So in this scenario, the reduced rate of interest won't be applicable. The interest will be as per section 51, which is 18% on central tax and 18% on state tax. I hope this illustration clarifies the interest scenario provision. Now moving on to our next slide, which is GSTR 3B for the month of May. In the earlier slides, we saw for the tax periods Feb, March and April. Now we will discuss about GSTR 3B for the May month. The GST Council here has extended the due date of May. I would request all the viewers to mark my words, has extended the due date of May, whereas in the earlier tax periods it was a relief provided to the taxpayers from interest and late fees. But for the month of May, the due date itself is extended. So the extension is as follows. For the taxpayers with turnover more than 5 crores, for all the states the due date will be 27th of June 2020. And for the taxpayers whose turnover is up to rupees 5 crores, then for some of the states, as you can see on the slide, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, etc., the due date has been extended to 12th of July. Whereas in the next slide, up to rupees 5 crores the turnover for states of Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya. For all these, basically the northeastern states or the union territories, the due date have been extended to 14th of July. So there are 3 due dates for the month of May. For the taxpayers whose turnover is crossing 5 crores, it is 27th of June for all the states. For the taxpayers whose turnover is up to rupees 5 crore, then for some of the states it is 12th of July 2020, whereas for some it is 14th of July 2020. Moving to the next form, GSTR1. GSTR1 is a statement of outward supplies of goods and services which has to be furnished by the dealers. The due date for filing form GSTR1 is currently 11th of the subsequent tax period, where the periodicity is monthly. However, late fees is levied when such returns are filed or when such statement is filed after the due date. Because of the lockdown, the GST Council has extended the due date or has provided the relief to the taxpayers by not levying late fees even if the GSTR1 is filed after the due date but before a specified date as per notification number 33/2020. On the next slide, we can see that for the taxpayers whose periodicity of filing GSTR1 is monthly, then for tax periods of March, April and May, if such taxpayers file their GSTR1 on or before 30th of June 2020, there will be no late fees. If the periodicity is quarterly, then for the month of March 2020, the condition is that it has to be filed before 30th June 2020, then there will be no late fees. So either your periodicity is monthly, then also you have to file your returns for the month of March, April and May up to 30th June, and if your periodicity is quarterly, then for the quarter ending March, you have to file it up to 30th June. If the returns are filed up to 30th June, there will be no late fees levied. Here I would like to express my views or my observation that if you see GSTR1 date reliefs is granted from the month of March, whereas for GSTR3B the relief was granted from the month of February. Why so? As we all know that our Honorable Prime Minister had announced the lockdown on 24th of March at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, where he said that from tomorrow onwards, that is 25th of March 2020, 25th of March 2020, there will be lockdown nationwide. The relief of delay in filing of form GSTR3B was granted for Feb month because the due dates was in a staggered manner, 20, 22nd, 24th, whereas in GSTR1 the due date is 11th of the subsequent month. So for the February month already GSTR1 has been filed by the dealers by 11th of the tax period, that is monthly periodicity is already lapsed before the lockdown is announced. So that's why no relief has been granted for GSTR1 for the Feb month, but relief is granted for GSTR3B of Feb month. Moving to our next slide, where we will discuss about form CMP08 and form GSTR4. Okay, what is form CMP08? Let us first understand that the composition taxpayers are required to pay their composition levy to the government through form CMP08. This payment has to be done quarterly. So for a quarter ending 31st March 2020, the due date of filing form CMP08 is 18th of April 2020. Since this date is falling in the lockdown period, the GST Council has extended the due date of CMP08 to 7th of July 2020. Talking about form GSTR4, it is a composition taxpayer has to file his return annually. Okay, so the return filing for financial year 1920 has to be done by the composition taxpayer in form GSTR4. The due date of annual return filing is 30th of April after the year ends. So for financial year 1920, the due date is 30th April 2020. Since this date is falling in the lockdown period, the GST Council has extended this due date to 15th of July 2020. Moving to the next forms, Form CMP02 and Form ITC04. What is Form CMP02? Form CMP02 is nothing but an application to be made by a registered taxpayer under GST, where he is opting for composition levy in the subsequent financial year. This intimation is to be made to the government through Form CMP02 before the financial year begins. So, for financial year 2021, if a registered taxpayer wants to change his status from registered to composition taxpayer, he can do so provided an intimation is filed to the government in Form CMP02 before the year end, that is before 31st March 2020. Since this was in the lockdown period, the GST Council has extended the due date of Form CMP02 to 30th of June 2020. Now talking about Form ITC04. Form ITC04 is to be filled up by the principal manufacturer, and the details of such goods, including the inputs and capital goods which he has received from the job worker or which he is dispatching to the job worker, has to be filled up in the form, and this has to be filed every quarter. So the due date of this is 25th of the subsequent tax period or the quarter ended. For example, for 31st March 2020, the due date is 25th of April 2020. Since the same is falling under the lockdown period, the GST Council has extended the due date of Form ITC 04 to 31st of July 2020. This was all about the forms, where some of the forms were granted extensions, where some of the forms were granted relief from interest and late fees. However, there are certain issues which we can see on the presentation slide, that these issues need to be addressed or should be considered because of the extension in the due dates. As we all know that majority of the due dates have now been shifted to the month of June or July. The already due date existing in the month of June is the return filing, that is Form GSTR 9, and the audit, that is GSTR 9C of financial year 18-19. Since there are a lot of compliance to be filled up in the month of June and July, the industry at and large is expecting a extension in the due dates of 9 and 9C. No extension till date have been granted, but we can expect it in the near future. Similarly, the due date for filing income tax returns of financial year 18-19 or of financial year 19-20 is 31st July. There may be an extension of filing income tax returns too. No clarification is yet received, but it is expected soon. Moving to our next topic of discussion, the second point of the agenda, which is the e-way bill validity. Okay, as per Rule 138 of the CGST rules, any person causing movement of goods through motorized vehicle is required to generate e-way bill if it is crossing a specified limit. Okay, the e-way bill has to be generated either by the supplier of goods or by the recipient or by the transporter of such goods. The e-way bill has its validity depending upon the distance the vehicle will travel from the place of dispatch to the place of destination. Okay, so the issue here is, what about those e-way bills which are already generated and the vehicles were in transit, but because of the sudden lockdown such vehicles were stopped from mobility, and hence the goods are in the vehicle itself and there is no movement of such goods. Whether the e-way bill generated here will stand valid till the lockdown ends, or the e-way bill will be treated as expired e-way bill and a new e-way bill has to be generated. So with respect to this issue, the GST Council has come out with a notification which states that such e-way bills will stand extended to 30th of April 2020. Any e-way bill expiring in the period of 20th March to 15th of April 2020 will stand extended as if this e-way bill was valid up to 30th April 2020. Okay, so the e-way bill's validity will be continued till 30th April 2020. No need to generate any new e-way bill for the transaction which has already been occurred or are in transit. This is through notification number 35/2020. In the next slide, I have visualized some of the issues which can come across. For example, a registered taxpayer is not allowed to generate the e-way bill if the GSTR 1 or GSTR 3B for 2 consecutive tax periods has not been filed by him. So for example, in this scenario, the GST Council has provided an extension or relief to the taxpayers that they can file their 1 or 3B after the due date but before a specified date. So what if the returns are not filed by the taxpayers but they want to generate the e-way bills? Will the portal stop them from generating the e-way bill, because the portal usually gives a pop-up that you are not allowed to generate the e-way bill because 2 consecutive tax periods 1 or 3B is not been filed. So this will cause hardship to the dealers, because even though they have not filed their returns, but to run their businesses they have to occur the transportation of goods, and if the procedural lapse in the return filing will not allow them to generate the e-way bills, then it will be hardship for them. There are no clarification yet received from the government, but in my view and my observation, I feel that if an advantage is given at one limb, it cannot be treated as a disadvantage for another limb. That is, if there is an advantage granted by the council itself in one of the provision, it cannot act as a disadvantage for other provisions. So if an extension is granted for returns, then on the portal also the e-way bill generation should be allowed. You cannot stop the taxpayers from generating the e-way bill because the extension is allowed by the council itself. The next issue is, what about the e-way bills which are not generated during the lockdown? That is, suppose there is a supplier of essential goods and because of some technical problem or any reason the e-way bill generation was not possible. Will such supplier be levied to penal provisions? So there is no clarification from the council, but in my observation, in my view, there is no extension or notification for e-way bill non-generation. No relief has been granted. That means e-way bill generation is mandatory. And as I told you earlier, e-way bill can be generated either by the supplier of the goods, recipient of the goods, or the transporter of the goods. Further, the procedure of generation of e-way bill is also very easy. It can be done through mobile also. Hence, the government might not have given any relief in generation of e-way bills. The documentation of e-way bill is required. Even if you think at present the goods have been moved, there have been no detention on the roads by the officers, because the reason may be due to lockdown, the officers are also not on duty. So don't you think that since the goods are not detained, your transaction is successful? Maybe in future there may be assessment proceedings where the taxpayer is asked for the details of invoices along with the corresponding e-way bills. The GST department do have an intelligence wing where they have reports generated about non-generation of e-way bills against a corresponding tax invoice. So of course, if there is any genuine difficulty for non-generation of e-way bill, it may be accepted, but otherwise no relief will be granted for non-generation of e-way bills in the lockdown period too. Moving to the next point of discussion, which is relief in claiming ITC as per Rule 36(4) of the CGST Rules 2017. This is the third point of the agenda. As per Rule 36(4) of the CGST Rules, input tax credit to a registered taxpayer is allowed only to 110% of the eligible ITC reflected in Form GSTR 2A. Okay, he cannot claim more ITC than this. So, for example, if a taxpayer has ITC of ₹100 in his books, but in GSTR 2A it is reflecting only 90. I am talking about the eligible matched ITC, which is only 90. So, a taxpayer as per Rule 36(4) can claim 110% of 90, which comes out to 99. So, even in the books, if the taxpayer has credit of ₹100, he is allowed to claim only ₹99 as per Rule 36(4). This is causing a lot of hardship to the taxpayers, because even though if they are having credit is eligible to them because they have the tax invoice or the goods or services are provided to them, but because it is not reflected in Form GSTR 2A, they are not allowed to claim the credit. In this difficult time where there is a lot of problems in the cash flow of the businesses, this rule is creating a hardship for the taxpayers. Addressing the same issue, the GST Council has come out with a notification where a relief has been granted to the taxpayers, stating that 36(4) rule should not be followed for the tax periods February 2020 to August 2020. This means that the taxpayers can avail ITC as per their books for the GSTR 3B of the period February to the period August 2020, subject to a condition that all the adjustments of the ITC with respect to Rule 36(4) has to be done in the month of September. That is, when you file the 3B of September month, all the adjustments from the tax period February to the August has also to be considered in September month's 3B. We will explain this scenario in an example form which will help us to understand it easy. Taking an illustration where Messrs A Limited for the period February to August has reflected its ITC as per 2A and as per books. He has availed the ITC as per books. Taking a first month, that is February 2020, there is 100 rupees ITC reflected in form GSTR 2A, but 120 rupees ITC reflected in his books. Not following Rule 36(4) as a relief is granted, Messrs ABC Limited has claimed rupees 120 in his GSTR 3B. So similarly, for all the months from February to August, Messrs A Limited claims ITC as per his books, with the total of which you can see in the third column, which is 935, compared to the ITC which is reflected in form 2A, which is 830. Okay, but there is a condition which the company needs to fulfill is, in the month of September he has to adjust all the excess or short ITC for the periods Feb to August. So considering in the illustration, including the September month's ITC as per GSTR 2A, the total of column 2 is 950. So as per Rule 36(4), A Limited is allowed to claim 110% of 950, which works out to be 1045. But since till August, A Limited has already claimed rupees 935, which is the total of the fourth column, he is now allowed to claim only the differentiate ITC, which is 1045 minus 935, which works out to be 110. So even though in his books, if he is having ITC of 120 or in his 150, or in his GSTR 2A he is having ITC of 120, he is eligible to claim only ITC up to rupees 110. We have issues in this too. There are certain issues which can be visualized. Taking a scenario where an excess ITC has been claimed in the period February to August, and now such excess ITC needs to be reversed in the month of September following the Rule 36(4). So thus this excess ITC needs to be reversed. But whether such excess ITC needs to be reversed, would be reversed with interest or without interest, this is an issue. There is no clarification received from the GST Council, but in my view and as per the understanding, I feel that for the period February to August, you have to consider it as one cumulative tax period, and if any adjustments of excess or short ITC can be adjusted till September 2018, okay, September 2020, then it will be treated as a reversal without interest. Okay, and anyway, since the council itself is giving you this relief of taking the credit as per books, they cannot levy interest on the reversals of excess ITC claimed in this tax periods. Since as I said earlier, that if an advantage is provided for one provision, it cannot be treated as a disadvantage for other provision for the taxpayers. Otherwise, there is no point of giving any relief to the taxpayers in a particular provision. Moving to the next query or next issue, where the above condition is for purchases between the period February to August 2020. That is, if any ITC has been already recorded in the books of the taxpayer but has not been availed by him in GSTR 3B from the periods prior to this periods covered in the notification, that is periods prior to February 2020. Well, if I claim such ITC in the tax periods from Feb to August 2020, will I need to consider such ITC in comparison with GSTR 2A? There is no clarification from the department, but In my view and understanding of the facts, we can say that such ITC will not be considered in the comparison of Feb to August 2020 with GSTR 2A, because the taxpayer has already recorded his ITC in his books, only he has not availed it in GSTR 3B. And anyway, as per law, he is allowed to claim the ITC of a financial year up to next September month of the next financial year. That is, for financial year 1920 is allowed to claim the ITC up to September 2020. So the ITCs which are recorded earlier in the books but claimed now should not be considered for the GSTR 2A calculation of this notification. They should be considered or treated separately. There is one more informative point which I would like to add here, is that the September GSTR 3B month will be very crucial, as there will be lots of compliances which we need to meet during the filing of GSTR 3B, like credit note, debit note, giving effect to any amendments in the invoices, then any ITC which has been lapsed to, which has been remained to avail, has to be availed till September, and further this GSTR 2A calculation or adjustments has also to be done in September month. So September month is a crucial month for calculation of ITC as per GSTR 3B. Moving to our next point of discussion, which is the fourth point of agenda: extension of time limit for completion or compliance of action in the period of this lockdown. That is, if any action or activities are falling due in the period of lockdown, which is 15th of considered to be 20th of March to 29th of June, then such such due dates will be deemed to be extended to 30th June. For example, the activities like from the authority side is completion of any proceedings or any issuance of any order, notice, intimation, etc. will stand extended to 30th of June. From the taxpayer's point of view, any refund applications or reply or furnishing of any report, document, return statement or any other records by whatever name called will be stand extended to 30th June if the due date is falling between 20th March to 29th of June. However, this notification number 35/2020, through which such relaxation has been granted, is not applicable to certain provisions of raising tax invoices, that is section 37, or procedure of registration, that is section 25, 27. For all those cases, this notification or this relaxation has not been extended. Moving to the next slide, where we can visualize a scenario where such notification may not be helpful to the taxpayer. For example, an unregistered person, for taking an example of a kirana wala or the grocery shopkeeper, where because of the lockdown there is lots of sales happening in the last 1 month, 1.5 month. It might be that such unregistered person might cross his threshold limit in these two tax periods, that is Feb and March. Such unregistered person, as per section 22, is now liable to get its self registration because it is crossing the threshold limit. Okay, so section 22 is applicable, but section 22 is covered by this notification. Taking a scenario, if the procedure of registration, or that is he needs to register himself on the website, then as per section 25 the procedure for registration has not been extended through this notification. Such kirana wala or such grocery shop has to get himself registered under section 25 and has to comply with the provisions. Taking a scenario where he is a composition taxpayer and because of the sales the threshold limit of 1.5 crore is crossing. Okay, so he needs to convert his registration from composition taxpayer to registered taxpayer. Okay, so here also he needs to make an application for registration. So there might be cases where such registered persons are not able to upload or documents or make themselves registered under the website. So there may be difficulties faced by such taxpayers. Moving to our next point of discussion, the fifth point of discussion or of the agenda, Non-payment to supplier within 180 days. Will it require reversal of input tax credit or not? As we know that as per section 16(2) of the CGST Act, if any registered person fails to make any payment of any invoice within 180 days from the invoice date to the supplier, then such ITC availed by the taxpayer needs to be reversed with interest and can be re-availed later whenever a payment is made to the supplier. The issue here is, in this period of lockdown, since the businesses are shut, the business may not have money to pay to their suppliers, as a result of which the ITC which they have availed earlier, they need to reverse it now and pay their liability in the cash mode to the deficient amount of credit. So this is causing a hardship to the taxpayer. No relief has been granted from the GST Council on this provision. An industry is expecting a change here, an amendment here. Many representations also have been made to the council to amend this provision, where some relaxation has been granted to the taxpayers. The issue here is that whether any ITC which has been availed by the taxpayer, but the payment of same has not been, the invoice payment has not been made to the supplier. The ITC of such invoice has not been utilized by the taxpayer. Okay, it has been just availed by the taxpayer in his electronic credit ledger, but is not utilized against the liability amount. Then in this case also, whether such registered person needs to reverse his ITC. This is an issue here. There are two school of thoughts where people say that yes, reversal is required because the word says it has been availed. But there is another school of thought which says that no, there is no loss to the government because it has not been utilized against the liability. Had it been utilized against the liability, then there would be revenue loss to the government. But here in this case, it has just been availed and not utilized against the liability component. Then it need not be reversed as per section 51 and rule 37. So of course it is management's call that how they treat this, and this issue is open for litigation. So it depends upon the assessee how they interpret the law and how the government is taking it future. Moving to the next point of discussion with regard to the clarification in regard to claiming of refund claim and LUT applications, which is the 6th point of agenda. The government had issued a circular and many reliefs has been granted for refund applications. Certain clarification were required by the taxpayers on this. So a circular has been issued by the government taking an instance in a case where an advance is received by a supplier for a service contract which subsequently got cancelled. However, the invoice for same was raised earlier and also the GST liability was paid on the same. But now it has been cancelled, hence the excess tax which was paid earlier by the taxpayer can be adjusted by issuing a credit note against the current outward month's liability. Or else if there is no liability existing in the current period, a refund application can be filed by the taxpayer in form GST RFD 01 showing it as an excess payment of tax. Taking a scenario, say in the current situation, a service contract was granted to a taxpayer in the month of January or February. An invoice was also issued and the GST liability on the same was also discharged. But however, due to the lockdown, maybe the counterparty does not want to continue the assignment because of funds crisis or the business has been impacted. So he has cancelled the contract. So in this case, the taxpayer since had paid earlier the taxes on the invoice value, now in the current month, since the business is completely shut, he has no output liability to adjust this credit note, and GSTR1 does not accept negative figures. So the option has been granted by the government that in that case refund can be filed by the taxpayer and the claim of such excess taxes paid by the taxpayer can be made in form GST RFD 01 as showing it as an excess payment of tax. Second scenario which was clarified is in the same thing, is that is if a service contract got subsequently cancelled on which the tax was paid and a receipt voucher was noticed. In that case, there is no condition that it has to be adjusted in the subsequent month's returns against the output liability. They clearly says that it has to be claimed as refund under form GST RFD 01 as excess payment of taxes. Moving to the next slide, before going to the third point, let us first discuss the fourth point, where as per section 54(1), a person is required to make a refund application within 2 years from the relevant date. There are various scenarios of refund applications. Accordingly, if you are fitting in that scenario, you have to make an application within 2 years from the relevant date. If this relevant date is falling due on the between the period 20th March to 29th June, then the same shall stand extended to 30th of June 2020. That is, refund applications can be made by the taxpayers up to 30th June if the due date is expiring in this lockdown period. Talking about the LUT applications, as we know that a registered person who is involved in supplying zero rated supplies need to and is availing an option of without payment of taxes need to apply for letter of undertaking. The LUT has to be applied before the next financial year begins, that is before the year end of this financial year. So for financial year 2021, the due date for application of LUT stands to 31st March 2020. Since the due date is falling in the lockdown period, the government has extended the LUT application date to 30th June, and in between, if any document has to be raised, then the reference number of the previous LUT can be mentioned in these documents. Moving to our next topic of discussion, the seventh point of the agenda, which is delay in deducting the TDS and collecting the TCS and furnishing their respective statements. The person deducting TDS, that is a TDS deductor, as has been specified in the provisions, is required to deduct TDS at 1% on specified contracts whose value is exceeding 2,50,000. This deducted tax has to be deposited to the government within the first 10 days of the next subsequent month in which such tax has been deducted. Similarly, a TCS has to be collected by the e-commerce operator on certain specified contracts, where also he has to collect TCS and deposit the same to the government within 10 days from in the next month in which such TCS has been collected. The TDS details have to be furnished in form GSTR 7, whereas the TCS details have to be furnished in form GSTR 8. The council has provided relaxation to both the deduction of taxes, the collection of taxes, and the furnishing of statements. There will be no interest levied on the late deduction or late collection of taxes. The due date for the tax periods March 2020 and May 2020 have been extended to 30th of June 2020. Okay. Moving to our next point of discussion, the eighth point of the agenda, which is impact on cash flow due to the force majeure clause in various contracts. Let us first understand what is force majeure. In layman's language, force majeure is something which is out of the control of human. It is beyond human control. It is a natural activity, an act of God. As per the file memorandum number 184/2020, PPD issued by the government on 19th February 2020, it has been clarified, it has been inserted that COVID-19 is also beyond human control and hence to be included in the force majeure clause. Currently, there are many business contracts which include this force majeure clauses. So, the business contracts may stand amended accordingly. The counterparties or both the parties of the agreement may mutually decide and take the benefit of the insertion of this COVID-19 under the force majeure clause. However, just to clarify myself here, that either of the party cannot take the benefit of force majeure clause after the force majeure period. If one wants to avail the benefit, it has to be intimated to the counterparty during the period of force. Okay, it cannot be after that. Further, the counterparty is not obligated to not fulfill the terms of the contracts. Only there is postponement to oblige such contracts terms. That is, for example, if the payment had to be made in this lockdown period, because of the force majeure, he can make the payment after the lockdown period ends. But he has not to make payment, ऐसा नहीं है. Alright. So, the force majeure clause will of course impact the businesses because there will be less flow of cash, there will be less flow of supply of materials, and hence it will affect the businesses. But among this difficult time, such impact to business has to be borne by the businesses or by the taxpayers. Moving to our next point of discussion, the ninth point of the agenda, which is technical glitches affecting the compliances. Okay, so of course the provisions have been amended, there have been extensions in the sections or the delay, there is return filing extensions, other provisions have been granted reliefs. But there are certain technical difficulties which the taxpayers are facing, and because of which they are not able to comply the provisions on time. One of such scenario is for corporate assessees, where there is verification of the returns compulsory through digital signature certificate. There is no electronic verification code available to the corporate assessees. Amongst this period of lockdown, if the DSC of a particular corporate person has been expiring, then how will they renew this DSC in this lockdown situation? So it is causing hardship to the corporate assessees. Addressing such issue, the GST Council on the portal have now made the EDC verification option also available to the corporate assessees. Okay, so the corporate taxpayers can also verify their returns using the electronic verification code. The availability of this facility has helped the corporate payers to file their returns on time without any technical glitches in the filing of returns. This is very helpful for such corporate assessees who do not wish to delay their returns or postpone it to after lockdown, but to comply their provisions on time. The second technical glitch is blocking of the credit ledgers by the authorities for the ongoing investigations. As we all know that there are certain companies which are under investigation for GST purposes. The GST authorities have been instructed to block the credit ledgers of such dealers or of such taxpayers. And only after getting substantiated by the proofs or by the documents or explanations by the taxpayers, they are allowed to release the credit ledger. Prior to that, they are not allowed to do so. But when the lockdown began, there were certain investigations which were ongoing, and there was no conclusion because of no submission of details or explanations or documents or proofs by the taxpayers to the GST authority because of the lockdown. Neither the GST officers were on duty nor the taxpayers were able to substantiate their explanation. As a result of which, the credit ledger is still lying blocked. The taxpayers are not able to utilize the input tax credit available in the electronic credit ledger to discharge their liabilities of the subsequent tax periods. This is causing a lot of hardship to the taxpayer because anyway, because of the lockdown, the businesses are hit, and therefore there is fund flow and cash flow impact. But moreover, because of this investigation and blocking of the credit ledger, the tax liability is also to be borne by cash instead of utilizing the credit. So this is causing a lot of hardship to the taxpayers. The industry at large has represented that such investigation should be either carried out digitally, that is the officer and the taxpayer may coordinate amongst themselves and digitally conduct the investigation proceedings, or that investigation proceedings should be stopped temporarily for a particular period. That is, once the lockdown is finished or over, the investigation can be again started, where the taxpayer will give substantiate or provide his explanation about the proceedings. This was all about the technical glitches faced by the taxpayer in the GST compliance because of the COVID effect. I would like to say that all the details which we have studied, or all the expressions or views which were expressed by me on various topics, are totally for educational purpose. I do not assure that the GST authority or the council may also agree with these views, but these views are only for this particular video for the educational purpose. The authority may not take the stand as we have expressed in this presentation. I thank all the viewers to listen to me so attentively, and I hope all the viewers do not procrastinate your doubts. If you have any doubts relating to any of the queries, please post your questions in the comment section. We will try to address it as soon as possible. Before leaving, I would thank all the viewers once again and request them to please be at home and stay safe among this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much once again.